The hive world of Zereth pulsed with life. If life could be called the endless hum of wings, the chitter of armored soldiers, and the constant psychic murmur of billions connected to a single mind. Above them all sat the alien queen, the mother of 1,000 worlds, whose will was law and whose wrath was annihilation. Her throne was not carved stone or forged steel, but a living structure of bone and sinew that grew from the hive itself, wrapping around her like an extension of her own body. For cycles uncounted, she had ruled without challenge. Entire planets had fallen to her armies, their skies darkened by her fleets. And in the depths of her fortress hive, protected by layers of soldiers, priests, and warlords, her most precious treasures slept. Her sons, the princes. They were young still, barely past the first molting stage, yet already terrifying, born with armored hides that no human weapon could pierce, eyes glowing with inner fire, claws that even adult warriors respected. In them, the queen saw the continuation of her reign. Each was a shard of her essence, a fragment of her will made flesh. To harm them was to harm her. To lose them was unthinkable. And then, one silent night cycle, the unthinkable happened. The nursery guards, veterans whose only duty was to stand watch, discovered the chamber empty. The prince's cradles, spun from silk and resin, were torn open. The scent trails ended abruptly, as though the air itself had swallowed them whole. Panic rippled to the hive, magnified 1,000-fold as a psychic bond carried dread from drone to drone. The queen rose from her throne, her spine carapace gleaming in the dim bio-light. Her wings spread wide, and her roar split the hive's psychic link like a thunderclap across minds. My sons are gone. The declaration rattled every chamber. Drones flung themselves into the search, skittering across walls, tearing open tunnels, interrogating one another with screeches and claws. Every heartbeat without the princes was agony. The queen's fury was so great that weaker drones dropped dead from the psychic backlash, their minds unable to withstand the storm of her emotions. Whispers spread quickly. Some muttered of treachery, others of humans, the hated prey species, fragile yet clever, who would defy her expansion more than once. Who else would dare steal from the queen herself? Who else would covet her heirs? The queen herself considered only two possibilities: betrayal within her hive, or abduction by her ancient enemies. In either case, blood would flow. Her rage boiled for hours, then days. Thousands scoured the hive world and beyond, scouring nearby systems, interrogating prisoners, slaughtering suspects. Yet no trace appeared. The princes were not in chains, not in laboratories, not hidden among rebels. They were simply gone, until the moment the scouts returned with trembling minds and impossible images. Across the stars, on a remote human settlement, barely more than a village of crude dwellings, the princes had been found, but not imprisoned, not dissected, asleep, curled upon the chest of a lone human woman, her fragile arms wrapped around them as though they were kittens or infants. Their claws, which could tear through steel, rested harmlessly against her skin. Their armored tails coiled not in attack, but in comfort, twitching with dreams. And strangest of all, her heartbeat was steady. She was not screaming. She was not begging for rescue. She held them as though she loved them. The princes purred. No alien had ever heard such a sound from them. They were the heirs of destruction, born to command fleets and crush empires. Yet here they were, two dreadful princes reduced to children soothed by a lullaby, content in the arms of a creature their kind had always hunted. The queen's fury shook the hive again. She could not believe it, could not accept it. Her sons, her heirs, in the arms of prey. The thought tore at her pride. It was an insult to her empire, a blasphemy against her reign. And yet, deep within, another feeling gnawed at her. Confusion. What trick of fate, what impossible weakness in her sons could make them submit to such a being? Her roar thundered across the stars. The hive would descend upon the humans. The princes would be returned. And the one who dared cradle them would pay with more than her life. She would pay with the ruin of her people. But even as the queen's wrath grew, the image lingered in her mind. Her sons, usually restless and violent, had looked peaceful, almost happy, and for the first time in countless years, the alien queen felt something she did not recognize. Not fear, not anger, but doubt. The settlement of Greyford was small by human standards. Barely a cluster of houses, farmland, and a trading post where merchants passed once a month. Life there was quiet, simple, and for most who lived under the shadow of war with the alien hives, it was the closest thing to peace they could hope for. Among its residents was a woman named Mara. She was not a soldier, not a leader, not anyone special by the measure of generals or historians. She was a mechanic's daughter, a teacher to village children, someone who patched roofs and baked bread and shared tools with her neighbors. Her life had been shaped by survival, not glory. On the morning, everything changed. Mara had gone into the forest beyond Greyford to gather firewood. The war felt distant here, though news trickled in. Human fleets clashing with alien armadas, colonies burned, refugees fleeing across the stars. Greyford had no defense against such forces. If the aliens came, all they could do was run or die. But Mara had long ago accepted this reality. She carried no weapon, only a basket and a knife for cutting branches. She found them not far from the stream, tucked beneath the roots of an ancient tree. At first, she thought they were wild beasts, two strange armored creatures, their eyes glowing faintly, their tiny claws scraping at the earth. They hissed at her, bearing fangs sharper than any wolf's, tails lashing the air. Every instinct told her to back away, to flee, to call for help. But then she heard the sound. A cry, not of rage, but of fear. High-pitched, desperate. Unmistakably the sound of children lost and frightened. Her heart clenched. Without thinking, Mara set down her basket and knelt. "Easy now," she whispered, as though soothing frightened orphans. "I won't hurt you." The creatures shrieked, but she did not flinch. She extended her hand, palm open, steady as stone. For a long moment, they stared at her, alien eyes, intelligent, hungry, distrustful. Then one of them, trembling, pressed its snout against her fingers. Its hide was rough, but beneath it, the creature shivered like a newborn. The other followed, the warier. Before Mara understood what was happening, both of them had climbed onto her lap, claws pricking at her clothes but not drawing blood. They pressed against her chest, curling into her warmth as though it was the only safe place in the universe. She sat there in silence, stunned. She had seen images of alien hatchlings before, captured in propaganda broadcasts. They were always shown as monsters, feral, vicious, tearing apart cages or snarling at their captors. But these two were just children. Mara's arms moved of their own accord, wrapping around them. They went still, then let out a low, vibrating rumble. It took her a moment to realize. They were purring. The princes, heirs of the most feared empire in the galaxy, were purring in the lap of a human villager. She carried them back to Greyford, though not without hesitation. The hatchlings clung to her shirt, talons snagging fabric, refusing to be set down. By the time she reached the village square, people had gathered, eyes wide with terror. "Mara, what have you done?" cried old Fenton, the blacksmith. "Those are aliens. Monsters. Get rid of them before they kill us all." Mara stood firm, clutching the sleeping hatchlings close. "They're children," she said simply. They were alone and they were afraid. Her words only deepened the unease. Mothers pulled their children away. Men fetched tools and pitchforks, as though those would protect them against claws and fire. Whispers spread quickly. "She's cursed. She's mad. She's bringing death on all of us." But Mara did not yield. That night, while the villagers argued, she stayed in her small home with the hatchlings pressed against her. She tried offering them bread, milk, soup, most of which they rejected with disgust. But when she dipped her fingers into broth and let them lick it, they seemed content enough. Slowly, awkwardly, she learned what they would eat. In the days that followed, they never left her side. They hissed at anyone else who came near. But with Mara, they were gentle. She gave them names, simple human names, because she could not pronounce the alien tongue. She sang to them when they grew restless, hummed lullabies passed down from her mother, and when they curled against her at night, she stroked their armored hides until they drifted into sleep. The strangest thing, Mara realized, was how quickly she forgot to be afraid. They were dangerous. Of course they were. Their teeth could shred her arm in an instant, but when she looked into their eyes, she did not see monsters. She saw children who had been denied comfort, raised in shadows of power and fear. And for reasons she could not explain, they had chosen her. The villagers grew restless. Some demanded she hand the hatchlings over to military. Others urged her to kill them before they grew. The local magistrate warned that if alien scouts found Greyford harboring the Queen's heirs, the entire settlement would be wiped out. Still, Mara refused. "They are not weapons," she told him. "They are children, and I will not give them to be caged or killed." The magistrate shook his head. "You don't understand, Mara. They are the heirs of the hive. If the Queen learns they are here, she will come for them, and she will burn us all." Mara's voice did not waver. "Then she will burn me first. But until that happens, they stay with me." Her defiance stunned the council, but it was not bravado. Mara had never commanded soldiers, never fought a battle, but she understood something others had forgotten, that children, no matter their origin, deserve more than to be treated as pawns. The hatchlings changed, too. Slowly, subtly, they began to mimic her. When she laughed, they chirped strange, squeaking imitations. When she clapped, they raised their claws and clicked them together. When she scolded them for clawing the furniture, they lowered their heads like guilty toddlers. And when she wept, because she did, sometimes, knowing the danger they brought, they curled around her tighter, pressing their small armored faces against her cheeks, as if to say, "We are here. We chose you." It was a bond no one else could see, no one else could understand. To the rest of humanity, they were monsters. To their hive, they were heirs of war. But to Mara, they were simply children who needed a mother. And whether the universe liked it or not, she had decided she would be that mother. The news reached the Queen like a knife through her carapace. Her sons, her heirs, her pride, the heart of her empire, were not prisoners of warlords or rebels. They were not hidden in fortresses or laboratories. They were with a human. The Queen had thought she knew fury. She had raised planets for less. Yet when the image of her sons curled upon a human chest reached her throne, her rage tore through the hive mind like wildfire. Whole chambers shook as drones dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by the psychic blast of her outrage. "A human cradles my heirs," she thundered, her voice echoing across the psychic link that bound every soldier to her will. "A prey creature dares hold them as though she were queen in my place." Her roar ignited action. Fleets mobilized. Scout ships sped toward the human colony. Armies gathered in the great bioforges, hatching warriors by the thousands. Every drone, every warrior, every priest understood the command unspoken in her fury: prepare for annihilation. But beneath her wrath was something more dangerous: fear. Not fear of the humans, fragile, weak, their worlds always crumbling before her swarm, but fear of change. For in the images her scouts brought, her sons looked peaceful, content. They purred, pressed against the human's warmth. They had never purred in her arms. And that frightened her more than any human weapon ever had. Far across the galaxy, humanity's leaders faced their own crisis. When word reached Earth Command that the alien Queen's princes had been found in the village of Greyford, military councils erupted in chaos. Some saw opportunity. "With the princes in our hands, we can bargain for peace," declared Admiral Vorn, pounding his fist against the table. "They're our greatest leverage. We can force her to halt her invasion." Others warned of catastrophe. "If the Queen learns we've taken her heirs, she won't negotiate. She'll burn every colony in her path," argued Senator Halden. "Returning them quickly is our only chance of survival." The debate stretched for days, but amid the shouting and fear, one fact was undeniable. Humanity had never been closer to the center of the hive's attention. Entire fleets shifted their course toward Earth space. The colony at Greyford, once a forgotten settlement, became the focus of two civilizations on the brink of war. And at the heart of it all stood Mara. She did not understand the weight of her choice at first. She knew the villagers feared. She knew the military demanded. But she had not grasped the scale until the soldiers arrived. They came in armored transports, descending upon Greyford like hawks. Their commander, a man with cold eyes and a sharper voice, knocked at Mara's door with armed guards at his side. "Step aside, citizen," he ordered. "By decree of Earth Command, you will surrender the alien spawn immediately." The hatchlings hissed at him, their spines flaring, claws scratching against the floor. Mara stood between them and the soldiers, her heart hammering but her stance unbroken. "They are not spawn," she said. "They are children, and I will not hand them over to be used as weapons." "You don't understand," the commander snapped. "They are weapons. They are heirs to the hive. The queen would burn 100 colonies to get them back. If we control them, we control her. Don't you see what this means?" Mara's jaw tightened. "I see what it means for them. You would turn them into tools, just as she would. But they deserve better than that." Her defiance left the commander stunned. No villager had ever spoken to him like that. But behind Mara, the hatchlings pressed against her legs, their tiny bodies trembling. She felt their fear, their need, and her resolve hardened. "They stay with me," she said. The conflict grew sharper with each passing day. The villagers, caught between military and alien wrath, begged Mara to give up the princes. Some cursed her, calling her selfish. Others pleaded with her to save them from destruction. And still, the hatchlings clung to her. They would not leave her side, not even for a moment. When soldiers tried to pry them away, they shrieked and lashed out, their claws drawing blood, their psychic cries echoing across the settlement. Only Mara's voice calmed them. Only her touch soothed their rage. The military reported everything to Earth Command. They bonded to her, the scientist explained. They've imprinted like animals do. To them, she isn't prey. She's mother. The idea unsettled everyone. To the humans, it was unnatural. To the aliens, it was blasphemy. Meanwhile, the Queen's fury grew unbearable. Through her psychic link, she saw the images. Her sons chirping when a human sang, curling in her lap when they slept, obeying her voice when they disobeyed all others. Every instinct screamed to destroy the woman. And yet, when she tried to summon her sons through the link, they resisted. They clung harder to the human, turning deaf to the call of their hive. It was intolerable. "They are mine," the Queen roared across the stars. "And the human who has poisoned them will be unmade." Her fleets entered human space. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the hive world shifted, thousands of warships blotting out suns. Humanity scrambled to fortify colonies, to prepare defenses they knew would never be enough. And in Greyford, Mara looked to the skies and felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down upon her. She was not a soldier. She was not a queen. She was one woman, alone in a small village, with 2 alien princes asleep on her chest. But when she held them, when she felt their warmth and heard their soft purrs, she knew one truth that no council, no army, no hive could change. They were her children now, and she would protect them, even if the universe burned for it. The skies over Greyford split open. The villagers had seen starships before, cargo freighters, patrol cruisers, even the distant shimmer of battleships. But nothing like this. The alien fleet descended in silence, vast as mountains, their hulls glistening with organic armor that pulsed like living flesh. Dozens of ships hovered in the upper atmosphere, eclipsing the sun, and from their cores poured smaller vessels, dropships, claws of the hive extended toward prey. At the heart of it all, vast and terrible, came the Queen. Her flagship was not metal but bone, a colossal living structure birthed from a hive itself. It descended like a predator bending low, casting a shadow across the village. The air grew heavy. Crops withered. Animals bolted from their pens. Every living thing could feel her presence pressing down, an ocean that was crushing their spirits. The villagers dropped to their knees, trembling. Soldiers raised their weapons, knowing they were useless. Even the commander who had demanded the princes earlier stared skyward in despair. And in her small cottage, Mara felt the hatchlings stiffen. They knew. The Queen had come. The roar struck first. A psychic wave rolled across the land, flattening weaker minds, cracking glass, and making every ear bleed. The Queen's voice shook not the air but the soul. "My sons, come to me." The hatchlings whimpered, claws digging into Mara's arms. Their spines flared, torn between instinct and love, heritage and choice. Their eyes glowed with the hive's call, but their bodies pressed closer to the human woman who had cradled them, fed them, soothed their nightmares. Mara held them tighter, even as her knees shook. "You don't have to go," she whispered, though she knew she could not hold them forever. "You are more than what she wants you to be." The ground split as the queen descended. She was vast beyond comprehension, a towering figure of armored limbs, wings that darkened the horizon, a crown of living bone rising from her skull. Every movement radiated power. Her many eyes burned as they fell upon the cottage, upon the fragile human standing in its doorway, and upon the princes, clutching at her like frightened infants. The queen's fury made the air tremble. Her voice thundered across the battlefield. "You dare hold what is mine, human? You dare taint my heirs with your weakness." Mara's throat was dry, but she stepped forward anyway. Her body shook, but she did not let go of the children. "They are not yours," she said, her voice cracking but firm. "They are not mine either. They are themselves, and they deserve to choose who they will be." The queen's roar shattered the air. Soldiers collapsed. The commander screamed for his men to fire, though none dared raise their rifles. The sheer pressure of her presence made battle impossible. And yet the princes did not leave Mara's arms. They turned their faces away from their mother, wailing, clinging, their cries piercing the queen's mind in ways no weapon ever could. For the first time in centuries, the queen faltered. She had expected them to run to her, to bare their fangs at the human, to return to the hive's embrace. Instead, they shrieked in terror, pressing their armored faces into the human's chest. They rejected her call. The hive around her trembled in confusion. Drones froze, uncertain. Warriors shifted uneasily. The unthinkable had happened. The princes had refused their queen. Rage rose in her again, fierce enough to burn worlds. But alongside it was something she could not name, something she despised: doubt. She extended a claw the size of a tree, pointing it at Mara. "What spell have you woven, human? What corruption binds them to you?" "No spell," Mara whispered. She could barely breathe under the weight of that gaze, but her arms never loosened. "Only love, only care, something you've never given them." The queen recoiled as though struck. Never had anyone dared speak to her so. Never had she imagined her children, her heirs, could prefer another's embrace. The standoff stretched. Soldiers muttered, villagers prayed. The hive bristled. Finally, the queen lowered her claw. Her voice rumbled like distant thunder, quieter but no less terrifying. "You cannot keep them. They are mine. They are the future of my hive." Mara swallowed, tears stinging her eyes. "Then let them choose, great queen. If they want you, I won't stop them. But if they want me, will you tear them from my arms?" The words hung in the silence. No human had ever spoken so to her. No prey had ever dared challenge her will, not with weapons, but with truth. The princes whimpered. Slowly, they stretched their claws toward the queen, then pulled them back and buried themselves against Mara's chest. Their decision was clear. The hive gasped in psychic unison. The queen's fury boiled, but behind it, a cold realization dawned. If she killed the human now, her sons would never forgive her. If she forced them, they would always remember this betrayal. She would gain heirs, yes, but lose their loyalty forever. And so the impossible happened. The queen spared human. She turned her colossal body, wings shaking the air, and growled, "Raise them as you will, human. But know this, if they are made weak, if they are unworthy of their birth, I will come again. And then not even your bones will remain." The hive ships withdrew, shadows lifting from the village. The villagers collapsed in stunned silence. Humanity's soldiers stared, speechless. And Mara sank to her knees, clutching the hatchlings as they purred once more, their cries fading into sleep. In the days that followed, whispers spread like fire across the human colonies. Tales grew of a woman who had defied the alien queen. Across the hive worlds, rumors swirled that the princes had purred in the human's arms. Some drones whispered that perhaps the hive was not eternal, that perhaps their queen's rule could be changed. And in a quiet cottage at the edge of Greyford, Mara rocked the princes in her arms and wondered what future she had unleashed. Would they grow to be tyrants, burning worlds in their mother's name? Or would they remember the warmth of her embrace, the lullabies of human voice, and choose a different path? She did not know. All she knew was that, for now, they were children, her children, and no queen, no empire, no war could take that away.